Do I hate the Bible? A lot of people seem to ask me this. I get a lot of comments on my channel quoting random Bible verses at me, telling me how much I hate the Bible, telling me, I'm going to hell, telling me, read that Bible twice, a bunch of random Bible verses about hell. And this seems to be a very common accusation that I'm ignoring the Bible, that I'm just going off my feelings, that universalism has no biblical support at all, that we just hate the Bible and we're just kind of taking Jesus for ourselves but ignoring the Word. And this is just not true at all. Now, there are very liberal universalists and liberal churches that are like, yeah, we believe there's a bunch of corruptions in the Bible. The Bible is an inconsistent and untrustworthy book, so we've got to, pick the good out of there. But I'm a biblical universalist, so I do have a very high view of the authority of Scripture. I'm not a fundamentalist on the Bible either, so I'm not a Mr. Joe and Aaron fist or whatever. But I mean, I do believe in the authority of the Scriptures, and I do believe that the Bible, though it doesn't tell us every single detail about the afterlife, that's the thing. Even scholars that believe in eternal damnation will tell you the Bible actually doesn't give us a very detailed picture of the afterlife. By far, the most detailed picture of the afterlife we get in the Bible is the end of the book of Revelation. Honestly, most of the Bible actually is very scarce about the afterlife, especially the Old Testament. Now, we do, of course, we get told what we need to know. That's what I say. We get shown enough of heaven and enough of hell. We get shown enough of heaven that we want to go there, and we get shown enough of hell that we don't want to go there. And I guess you would say I speak when the Bible speaks. I'm silent when the Bible is silent. Now, I do believe in the traditions of the church. I do believe that God has taught the saints and people, and just people, say, like NDEs and stuff. I do believe that God continues to speak to people today in dreams and NDEs and visions and, through the Bible, of course. So I do believe that God continues to speak and that God continues to give revelations about the afterlife, but I don't see those as equal to the Bible. The Bible is the ultimate authority. All revelations had to be interpreted through the Bible. It is our ultimate authority on these matters. I believe it is the purest revelation. Of course, Jesus is the purest revelation, but the Bible is, of course, records the life of Jesus and records his teachings, and of course records all this, people that knew Jesus. It's the recordings of their teachings too. So I do believe the Bible is, the purest book. Then the best thing we can do to interpret revelations of God today is through the Bible. As I've talked about before, I have a high reverence for the Bible. I always make the argument, for instance, of the aeon, aedia argument. I always make the argument that the Greek word aedia means forever, but that's not the word they use in the Bible. It's the Greek word aion, which just means age. And of course, I'm always talking about Scripture. So universalists do not hate the Bible. Now, there are some universalists who have a very, very weak view of the Bible. But once again, it's like saying that because there's some Methodists that have a low view of Scripture, that means all Methodists have a low view of Scripture. That's like saying because some Episcopalians have a low view of the Bible, that's like all Episcopalians have a low view of the Bible. Just because some people have a low view of the Bible and don't respect the Bible and your tradition, that doesn't mean that all of you don't respect the Bible. So, no, universalists do not hate the Bible. We take the Bible very seriously, and I would argue that we, in many ways, take the Bible more seriously than most Christians, because a lot of Christians, they want to cherry pick these verses about God's judgment, and I do believe in God's judgment, but they don't want to talk about all these stuff about God's grace. For instance, I've recently been thinking a lot about the passage in the book of Revelation where it says the gates of the New Jerusalem will not be shut by day, and there will be no night there. That's Revelation 21:25, I want to say. That you never hear about that one in church because it's implying that the door to the afterlife is never closed, that God never shuts the door. But the mainstream Christian church has taught for hundreds of years that God shuts the door on people, and that's in the mainstream position until very recently, where they've shifted it saying the gates of hell are shut from the inside. But that's a very recent development. Of course, I would agree with them that the gates of hell are shut from the inside, but that's a very recent development. The traditional view is that Christians are predestined to heaven. That if you're a Christian, it's because God predestined you to be a Christian. And either if you're not a Christian, it's either because God predestined you not to be one or you chose not to be one. But the traditional view among the mainstream Christians was predestination, that somehow that all the people who make it to heaven are predestined to do so. There were different schools. There's one-way predestination and then there's two-way predestination. But that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, universalists take the Bible seriously. I would argue that we take the Bible seriously than most Christians because we don't cherry pick verses. We try our best to take the whole thing seriously. I think universalists have the most complete view of the Bible, but of course I'm biased because I'm a universalist. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. God bless. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments. I'm not an expert. I'm not the Pope of Universalism, but I do believe that God has given me a lot of knowledge, and I think I should use it for His glory. Well, you have a good day. God bless. And if you liked the video, please subscribe.